Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now am found, was blind, but now I see. 'Twas grace that taught my heart to fear, and grace my fears relieved. How precious did that grace appear the hour I first believed. Many, many dangers, toils and snares I have already come. 'Tis grace that brought me safe thus far, and grace will lead me home. When we've been there 10,000 years, bright shining, ooh, shining as the sun. We've no less days to sing God's praise than when we'd first begun. Then when we first begun, ooh, we've no less days to sing God's praise. Amazing grace.
Welcome, welcome, welcome to our community Church Unitarian Universalist. I am your minister, Reverend Darcy Roque, and it is a joy to be with you virtually today. So who are we as community church? We are progressive, open-minded, and inclusive religious community. We welcome all who are on a spiritual search for truth and meaning. Ours is a faith in action as we do the work of social justice and elevate compassion in our quest to live ethically, recognizing the inherent worth and dignity of every being. So today we're going to be having our service of memory. In this service, we lift up the names and stories of those who have died and remain in our hearts. It can be an emotional service, and we do know it is an emotional time. And so today I'd like to not only ground us in some opening words, but also make a very serious note that, as always, I'm always available to talk should anyone need a conversation in the next few days. My cell phone is on the website for pastoral emergencies. It is in our office information, and I can tell you right now it is 347-218-0225. If you'd like to take a nature walk on Tuesday with me on the phone, just give me a call. I'd be happy to do that virtually with you. Our opening reading today is by Reverend Vanessa Southern. Even this is enough. So much undone, so much to do, so much to heal in us and the world, so much to acquire: a meal, a healthy body, a fit one, a lover, a job, a better job, proof we have and are enough, just around the corner now. And up against it, the reality of all that falls short and the limits of today. We honor the limits. If your body won't do what it used to, for right now, let it be enough. If your mind won't stop racing or can't think of the word, let it be enough. If you are here utterly alone and in despair, be all that here with us. If today you cannot sing because your throat hurts or you don't have the heart for music, be silent. When the virtual offering plate goes around, if you don't have the money to give or the heart to give, let it pass. The world won't stop spinning on her axis if you don't rise to all occasions today. Love won't cease to flow in your direction. Your heart won't stop beating. All hope won't be lost. You are a part of the plan for this world's salvation. Of that, I have no doubt. The world needs its oceans of people striving to be good, to carry us to the shores of hope and wash fear from the beachheads and cleanse all wounds so they can heal. But oceans are big, and I am sure there are parts that don't feel up to the task of the whole some days. Rest, if you must then, like the swimmer lying on her back who floats, or the hawk carried on cushions of air. Rest in pews made to hold weary lives in space carved out for the doing of nothing much but being. Perhaps then you will feel in your bones sense that this is enough, even this, that we are enough. You are enough. Enough. For these and all the meditations of our hearts unspoken in this hour, I say, Amen. And so as we move into this space, please keep that on your hearts, that you are enough and that this hour is for healing and care, for celebration and memory, and for sadness. Please hold all of that with you in this hour. And of course, there are so many larger things going on in the world. So I would be remiss for those of you that haven't been able to yet to go, please practice your fifth principle on Tuesday of the democratic process and vote. And if you are able to try to help your neighbors and friends get out and vote as well. That is a principle of our faith. And speaking of our faith, you have probably seen at the beginning of each service all the announcements that we have rolling beforehand. Please click on those links and find out everything that is happening at CCUU. One particular thing that I'm excited about in Community Church is our stewardship campaign. You're like, you're excited about our stewardship campaign? No, I really am, because it is the work of this congregation together that helps us envision and dream about not only surviving, but thriving. And it is the voices of our members that really make up this church. And so I am honored to introduce our next stewardship campaign video from CCUU member Dion DeVille.
Good morning, y'all. Just a few words in support of our current pledge drive. Please remember that we are a self-sustaining community, and I'm really proud of that. I think it's a really unique thing to be able to say as a faith-based community, but what it means is that the money that we put into our church is the money and other nonprofits that we support, as well as what we use to pay our minister and our staff. It is the money that we will use when we begin our search and ultimately find a new music director. And that is something that we may forget sometimes because things tend to run pretty smoothly at Community Church Unitarian Universalist. But we have to support our efforts. So if you are like me and you have been financially impacted by the events of 2020, you may be discouraged right now that you can't match past pledges, or you may feel that what you intend to pledge won't be impactful at all. And I want to tell you that that is absolutely not true. Stay encouraged and give what you can comfortably, and know that it will be put to will match past pledges. Please explore whether you can give just a bit more this year. That would be incredibly righteous if you could. But either way, know that we are all in this together, and we're going to make this work for the long term. And that is also the goal of this pledge drive. We want to make sure that we sustain our community so that we are here in the years to come. I know that Unitarian Universalists' time has come. It is not the way it was at the inception of Unitarianism and Universalism, where we are ahead of our time. The time is now. And there are many, many more truth seekers out there who are looking for a place that they can call home. And I believe that Community Church Unitarian Universalism is absolutely one of those places. So please give what you can. If you have any questions, ask any of us who have served on the board or are currently serving. If you'd like to know more about how the funds are used, or you can talk to Reverend Darcy. We really pride ourselves on transparency in this community, and that's another thing that I'm really proud of. I love you guys very much, and I will see y'all at coffee hour.
Thank you, Dion, and thank you all for all that you do. Now light our chalice. So we will be having our chalice lighting video. The words are there, and we will light our chalice here. If you have a chalice at home, please light it at this moment too, with "We Light This Flame."
We light this flame to affirm the light of truth and knowledge, the warmth of love and community, and the fire of hope and commitment.
Our first reading today is from Reverend Angela Herrera, "Your Broken Heart."
Don't leave your broken heart at the door. Bring it to the altar of life. Don't leave your anger behind. It has high standards, and the world needs vision. Bring them with you and your joy and your passion. Bring your loving and your courage and your conviction. Bring your need for healing and your powers to heal. There is work to do, and you have all that you need to do it right here in this room. I'm just going to read the offertory now. Community Church Unitarian Universalist is a self-sustaining congregation. Members and friends' generosity help us to do the sacred work of bringing justice, spirituality, and compassion to our community and beyond. You can give online, by text, and in the mail. Check your chat box to see all the ways you can give, and remember to pledge today. And as you give, we will be listening to a beautiful piece from a guest musician who will introduce himself to us now.
Hello there, my name is Francisco Ruiz. I am the Director of Music at the UU Church of Long Beach in California, and I am so thrilled to be a part of the CCUU service this morning.
Remember me, though I have to say goodbye. Remember me,
Don't let it make you cry, for even if I'm far away, I hold you in my heart. I sing a secret song to you each night we are apart. Remember me, though I have to travel far. Remember me each time you hear with you the only way that I can be, until you're in my arms again. Remember me. Que nuestra canción no deje de latir, solo con tu amor yo puedo existir. Que nuestra canción no deje de latir, solo con tu amor yo puedo existir. Recuérdame, si en tu mente vivo estoy. Recuérdame, mis sueños yo te doy. Te llevo en mi corazón y te acompañaré. Unidos en nuestra canción, contigo ahí estaré. Recuérdame, si sola crees estar. Recuérdame, y mi cantar te irá a abrazar. Aún en la distancia nunca vayas a olvidar que yo contigo siempre voy. Recuérdame. If you close your eyes and let the music play, keep our love alive, will never fade away. If you close your eyes and let the music play, keep your love alive, will never fade away. If you close your eyes and let the music play, keep our love alive, I'll never fade away. Remember me, for I will soon be gone. Remember me, and let the love we have live on. And know that I'm with you the only way that I can be. So until you're in my arms again, remember me. Que nuestra canción no deje de latir, solo con tu amor yo puedo existir. Que nuestra canción no deje de latir, solo con tu amor yo puedo existir.
I didn't grow up in my Mexican-American community of my mother and father. They were born and raised in the South Texas border town in Rio Grande City. My father and mother left their childhood home when when my father left when he was in the Army. I grew up in Norfolk, Virginia, and didn't have the experience of growing up in the Latino community. I always felt that something was missing. I was born on November 2nd, and when I was born, my mother said, "Please don't let her be born on Halloween." Halloween passed, and she exclaimed, "Ay, Dios mío, no, no el Día de los Muertos, por favor." I was intrigued. I started to explore the holiday and read as much as I could on the subject. And people started giving me Mexican Day of the Dead crafts for my birthday. And when I came to New Orleans, I attended Day of the Dead celebrations, and I began to collect the art. I wanted to share my traditions with my middle school students, so I began to build my first altars in the city. I amassed quite a collection, and I became very knowledgeable on the subject, and people began to ask me to do altars around the city. After years of building and sharing altars with the public, what I found and what was in my life was this incredible, beautiful tradition of honoring the people who have passed, your loved ones. And this tradition to me is so incredible. And I'm glad I found it. And it becomes an everyday experience for me. Let me explain a little bit about El Dia de los Muertos, the Day of the Dead. El Dia de los Muertos is celebrated all over Latin America, but in Mexico, it is the most elaborate. It is a day to celebrate, remember, and prepare special foods in honor of those who have departed. On this day in Mexico, the streets near the cemeteries are filled with decorations of papel picado, candy, flowers, calaveras, which are the skeletons and skulls, and parades. If individuals couldn't make it to the cemetery, a home altar is made. It is believed the spirits of the dead visit the families on October 31st and leave on November 2nd. On November 1st, which is today, is called Los Angelitos. This is when the children's souls come back. On November 2nd, the children leave and the adult souls return, and the families make altars and place ofrendas or offerings of foods such as pan de muertos, which are baked in the shape of skulls and figures, candles, incense, yellow marigolds known as sampachul, and most importantly, a photo of the departed souls is placed on the altar. It might sound somewhat morbid, but the Mexicans react to death with mourning along with happiness and joy. They look at death with the same fear as any other culture, but there is a difference. They reflect their fear by mocking and living alongside death. Living alongside death means that Mexicans have learned to accept it within their lives. Death is apparent in everyday life. It is not respected as it is in other cultures. Death is laughed at in its face. Many euphemisms used for death as la calaca, which is a skeleton, la pelona, which is baldy, and la flaca, which is skinny, and la huesada, which is bony. There are refrains and sayings and poems that are popular with Day of the Dead. The calaveras, which are the skulls, are decorated with bright colors with the name of the departed inscribed on the head. The sugar skulls, which I have on the altar today, is one of those. Children carrying marigolds enjoyed the procession to the cemetery. At the cemetery, music is played and dances are made to honor the spirits. It is a celebration of love, not fear. Today, I'm putting up a photo of my father. It is actually 20 years on the 27th when he passed away. And the object I have is his baton. He was a musician, but he was also the conductor of the Army Band at the School of Music. And so I actually have his baton that was in the car that he gave me that I saved after Katrina. So that is just his actual baton. Thank you.
Good morning. I'll be adding to the altar a picture of my best friend who I lost in May. His name was Cletus Earhart Lovelace, and also a piece of lace that reminds me of Ruth Bader Ginsburg for all that she was and for all that is still and will ever be because of her bravery and for her life as a real life heroine. And now we have a reading by author, educator, and activist Parker Palmer. Heartbreak comes with a territory called being human. When love and trust fall on us, when what once brought meaning goes dry, when a dream drifts out of reach, a devastating disease strikes, or someone precious to us dies, our hearts break and we suffer. But there are two quite different ways for the heart to break. There's the brittle heart that breaks apart and falls into 1,000 shards, a heart that takes us down as we explode. Then there's the supple heart, the one that breaks open but not apart, growing into greater capacity for the many forms of love. Only the supple heart can hold suffering in a way that opens to new life.
So a tin can top is one of my most prized possessions. On it is a painted heart, a recreation of the Sacred Heart from the Catholic tradition. It is lovely but simple, with rough edges. My mother painted it for me. And each time I look at it, my heart hurts a little bit, with love and gratitude and just a touch of melancholy. I am lucky enough to still have my mother on this earth, but this heart reminds me of just how precious and fragile each of our lives are, how beautiful and how broken. Just some paint on a tin can. Our heart, just some muscular organ in our body. And yet it's so much more. This heart makes me cry. But then again, everything makes me cry these days. From the news of more child separations at the US border to the first 10 minutes of the animated movie Up. Tragedy, sentimentality, small moments of grace, and hard moments of fear blend together in this now supple heart. The supple heart that I bring forward today. And I say supple heart, not sacred heart. Though the Catholic Sacred Heart is part of our journey towards this altar. A journey of memory influenced by the Catholic tradition of All Saints' Day and the Mexican and Latin American tradition of the Day of the Dead, as Cynthia so beautifully described to us. The Sacred Heart in the Catholic tradition represents God's boundless and passionate love for mankind. The heart is often depicted with arrows or wire through it, representing Christ's suffering and ultimate suffering for us. In our thorns. In our Unitarian Universalist tradition, many of us do not view Jesus' death as salvific, meaning that we do not believe his death saved mankind as a whole from sin. Most Unitarian Universalists look to Jesus as a teacher and a model of a life lived in justice seeking, who called upon a deep reservoir of love and extraordinary human compassion to do his sacred work. And Jesus' pain, and the pain he felt for and with others, particularly the poor and the exploited, that is represented in his wounded heart. That contributed too to Jesus' sacred work. The Sacred Heart of Jesus, as an example to us UUs and human beings in general, thus becomes, through this humanity, a supple heart. Jesus and us fellow humans, thousands of years later, we share the same basic cardiovascular system. We can also share a supple heart with Jesus. If we let the beauty and love and pain in this world in, if we allow ourselves to be open and grieving, attuned and joyful, our metaphorical hearts hold, as Parker Palmer noted in our reading today, suffering in a way that opens to new life. So many of us have suffered, have lost someone whom we call friend, family, loved one. Not one of us will leave this world without pain and heartache. And yet, many of us have not simply endured this pain. We have found new ways to be alive in and through it, to take our tin can battered hearts and to love again. This, of course, takes time. It takes ritual, like the altar of memory we are building today. It takes compassion, so that our hearts move towards suppleness rather than calcification or brittleness. And through this suppleness, we discover deeper connections with each other and perhaps our purpose in this world. As Henry J.M. Nouwen wrote in his book, The Wounded Healer, when we become aware that we do not have to escape our pains, but that we can mobilize them into a common search for life, those very pains are transformed from expressions of despair into signs of hope. Because the most ardent wish of those loved ones who are no longer with us is for us to live through hard times and to live into joyous times. We are hopefully fulfilling the dead's wish for us to simply be alive. And so that's all I'm going to ask of us today in this service. Bring your aliveness. Bring your supple, broken, pliable, hurting, loving, living hearts to this altar as we remember those in our lives who have died, either this year or 50 years ago. The heart remembers. Mourn if you need to, cry if you want to, celebrate if you feel so moved, for remembrance of a life can be a celebration as well. All we ask of you is to leave it all here with this community, on this altar, and to know that in the leaving, you are being strengthened and loved by this community. Because as the thinker, writer, and activist Bell Hooks noted, rarely, if ever, are any of us healed in isolation. Healing is an act of communion. This is our act of communion. Even over Zoom, even in a time of a pandemic, even as a monumental election looms, we create the space and time for healing, for memory, for our humanity. No election cycle or virus or weather system changes that. So let us move now into this time of sharing, of melancholy and memory, of grief and gratitude. Cynthia Ramirez, our religious education director, has built an altar, as we know, reflecting some of her traditions around the Day of the Dead. We thank her for that, for creating this space for healing. So as we're going to listen to hymn 1002, Comfort Me. It's a bit of a longer hymn. And we ask that you're going to include your reflections on those who have died this year, as well as your joys and sorrows, in the chat box. Please keep adding them, even as the music finishes, as you feel moved. This ritual will take the time that it needs to take. And if you have an object that you would like to show us that hasn't appeared on our altar, please lift it up to your Zoom camera as I read your reflection. So I will be reading your reflections after the music. Please put them in the chat box. For now, I am going to leave my supple heart, my supple sacred heart, at the altar, and I will be bringing forth Lois Ritter, my grandmother, who I never had the honor of meeting, my mother's mother. She died before I was born, but whom apparently put out into the world so much love and caring and beauty. So I remember Lois. We will now begin our time of sharing in the chat box.
Comfort me, oh my soul. Comfort me, comfort me, comfort me, oh my soul. Stay with me, stay with me, stay with me, oh my soul. Stay with me, stay with me, stay with me, oh my soul. Sing with me, sing with me, sing with me, oh my soul. Sing with me, sing with me, sing with me, oh my soul. Pray with me, pray with me, pray with me, oh my soul. Pray with me, pray with me, pray with me, oh my soul. Comfort me, comfort me, comfort me, oh my soul. Comfort me, comfort
Thank you for the memories that you have put into the chat box. I'm going to be reading them in the next few minutes. We have a couple of folks in church right now who would like to bring a memory. Sebastian Roque Van Young, you put down a picture of your great grandma Elaine. What would you like to say? That's okay. Just keep going. What would you like to say?
This is my grandma Elaine, and I love her, and I'm glad she got to be very old,
Okay, thank you.
and she got to live very long.
You're glad you got to be very old and live a very long time. Your great grandma Elaine, who died this year. Absolutely. We have a few other people to come forward in this time.
Hey, everybody. I want to pray for this country, that we can come together with love and compassion and unify and include all and move forward as a country and vote blue. That's my personal opinion. I think that'll be such a great healing experience for all. And if not, we will get through it, but let's vote blue. I'm also going to vote for my father. I will vote for him if he ran, but my father, Terry O'Brien, who passed a little over a year ago, I know he's with me and helping me, and all those people. Ruth Ginsburg, we need your help. I'm praying on the ancestors and all that spirit over there to help us through this life, especially the next week, and give us all your good power and good juju. And thank you. I'm blessed to be here.
Thank you, Red. I'm now going to read reflections in our chat box. And if you feel so moved, please continue on. We will take the time it takes. Howard Milky writes, in memory of Rolf Ortesen of Norway, who we lost from Alzheimer's disease in September. He championed the Clean Soil Act passed in Norway on the basis of findings found in New Orleans. Now we need the same Clean Soil Act in New Orleans and our nation. We light our candle for Rolf. Jacqueline Luck writes that she remembers a time that she hadn't lost anyone in her life to death. Now the list is longer than can be counted. We light a candle for all those that we have lost, and we light a candle too for the melancholy of time passing. Thank you, Jacqueline. Regina writes, in memory of Debbie Farisi. She was a library volunteer at NOMA. She had a beautiful smile and a welcoming heart. We light our candle for Debbie. Cindy Scott lights a candle in memory of Ellis Marsalis, the father of modern jazz in New Orleans, who died of COVID-19, April 1, 2020. Thank you, Cindy. We light this candle for Ellis Marsalis and his amazing life. Marilyn and Al Malone write that they often think of their parents and both sets of grandparents and thank them for their love and for the many things they taught me. Let us light a candle for parents and grandparents and all our ancestors and all that they bring to us today. Alicia Cook has a joy. After suffering a broken ankle, broken computer, broken phone, and a broken roof all over the past 2 weeks, all in separate incidents, things have finally turned a corner. Grateful to be healed enough to stand in a long voting line this Tuesday. Alicia, thank you for your Unitarian Universalist tenacity. We are sending you so much love and thank you for that gratitude. Let us hope we will put all our good thoughts out into the universe. Cindy Scott writes that it sounds silly, but my sister Nola lives alone, and her dog has been a huge source of comfort during this time. He has had some paralysis this week. He's getting better, but please send healing light to Max, especially for my sister who needs him very much. We understand the beauty and the power that animals can have in our lives. We have Cletus represented up here. May we light a candle for all those animals that keep us company, that help our loved ones feel whole and complete and seen. John and Carolyn write that William Barnwell, reverend, teacher, activist, father, grandfather, who died of COVID-19. It's true, Reverend William Barnwell, we lift his life up. What an incredible human being. And we hope to carry his memory forward in the progressive work that we do in New Orleans and beyond. Thank you for lifting up Reverend Barnwell. Alicia writes of Geraldine Mayho, passed away this year after a lifetime spent fighting for environmental justice in her community of St. James. She marched with us even when physically unable, all the way into the end. We light a candle for Geraldine and for all the ways that we all persevere, and then in particular, folks like her who help pave the way for generations to come, who march and continue marching. Cindy has a joy that she received confirmation, Cindy Tilley, that I received confirmation that my ballot was accepted and will be counted for the first time in Minnesota. It is wonderful news. And of course, there is a sorrow too that the Supreme Court changed the law and ruled only 2 days ago that any ballots mailed in and received after Tuesday will not be counted in Minnesota. Thank you, Cindy, for all that you're doing to ensure the democratic process. And please know that it is part of our sacred faith tradition to keep on that fight and to keep on that work to make sure that all of our voices across this country are heard through our vote. Should be a very nonpartisan issue. May we lift up our voices and our vote. I want to light 2 more candles for all. Oh, perfect. It's absolutely perfect timing. 1 more candle for all the joys and all the sorrows that are yet unspoken. Everything that we are celebrating this week, for it was Halloween, a very different Halloween last night, for all the fun and enjoyment we have, for all the ways we find our humanity and connection, even in a time when that is difficult. And of course, for all the sorrows and anxieties and fears that many of us are holding today and for the days to come. Please know that this community is here, that we love you and that we care for you. And just as reflected in our ancestors that we have honored in our time today, we are here to love and support you, even if we may not be able to see us at all times. This community is healing. Healing is communion. We love you and we thank you for bringing your memories to our altar today. And with that, I'm going to ask those that are with us, Cynthia and Amy and Amelia, if possible, and Red. It is wonderful to see some folks who are helping out with our recording to come forward. And we're going to do our closing reading of We Remember, a litany of remembrance. And as I lift my hands and you're at home, please know you can say it as loud as you want. Please say, we remember them when I lift this up. For all those that have been spoken and unspoken. At the rising of the sun and its going down, we remember them. At the blowing of the wind and in the chill of winter, we remember them. At the opening of the buds and in the rebirth of the spring, we remember them. At the blueness of the skies and in the warmth of summer, we remember them. At the rustling of the leaves and in the beauty of autumn, we remember them. At the beginning of the year and when it ends, we remember them. As long as we live, they too will live, for they are now a part of us as we remember them. When we are weary and in need of strength, we remember them. When we are lost and sick at heart, we remember them. When we have joy we crave to share, we remember them. When we have decisions that are difficult to make, we remember them. When we have achievements that are based on theirs, we remember them. As long as we live, they too will live, for they are now a part of us as we remember them. Thank you all. We will now have some music. It is something to have wept, and move into our benediction. We thank you for being here for our altar of memory.
It is something to have wept as we have wept, and something to have done as we have done. It is something to have watched when all have slept, and seen the stars which never see the sun. It is something to have smelled the mystic rose, although it breaks and leave the thorny rot. It is something to have hungered once, as those must hunger who have ate the bread of God. To have known the things that from the weak are furled, the fearful ancient passions, strange and high. It is something to be wiser than the world, and something to be older than the sky. Lo, and blessed are our ears, for they have heard, and blessed are our eyes, for they have seen. Human beast and bird and lightning, it is something to have been. It is something to have been.
Our benediction today is an interpretive translation of Talmudic texts from the Jewish tradition. Do not be daunted by the enormity of the world's grief. Do justly now. Love mercy now. Walk humbly now. You are not obligated to complete the work, but neither are you free to abandon it. Thank you for being with us today. Be good to yourself this week and know that